Hello, my bloop-loving gang! Remember that video I did where I talked about Bloop's design inspiration? You know, this image? The Leviathan by Jeff Chang Comics? Yeah, that whole story is pretty wild, so check out the full video I did on it if you haven't yet. Bloop isn't the only monster that's happened to, though. Indeed, many of the other members of the Mysterious Ocean Sound gang have similar stories to this. And since I recently added all of them to the series, I'm going to go over their designs today. Since we've already covered Bloop's design in that other video, let's start this one with Julia Beast. This Julia Beast thing, there's not one consistent design with this shit, right? Then we got this weird looking painting, which gives the Julia Beast an enormous cleft chin. And the story itself is hey, it's basically just the Bloop, but Empire State Building or something. This, whatever the hell, it's based on this, I know, but everybody just pulls random images and they're just this is what we expect. I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna be taking hella liberties when it comes to this design. I'm gonna basically try and combine this with this. It'll have a basis of Bloop, but we're probably gonna have more tentacles on the chins and stuff. Her visual is based on this image. This giant red-skinned fish with a split jaw. Pretty intense, right? So, is this a similar situation to Bloop, where the YouTube video maker just Googled big monster fish on DeviantArt and went to town? Nope! At least I assume not. This image is actually from this. A card. A Magic the Gathering card. Scourge of Fleets. And yes, the creature, Kraken. Been getting that request a lot these past couple of months. It's been getting really annoying. I'll add Kraken when I'm damn well ready, viewers! Anyway, artist is Stephen Belladin, a fantasy artist who's apparently done a lot of Magic the Gathering card artwork. I did 2 live streams when I was designing Julia Beast. The first live stream involved me using this image explicitly in the design, until I found out a couple days later that this design is not actually from a normal internet artist, but from a commercial artist. A bit different legally speaking. Using Bloop's design is kind of like a gray area since it was released publicly online for free, so the internet just kind of lifted the design and legally it's just iffy. But this is a commercially sold game, meaning this is artwork that has rights attached to it, so it's a lot more legally ick to use. I'm sure technically they're both legally ick, but I'm going by personal feelings here, so that's what guides my decision-making process. And before anybody says anything, I know, later on in the series I bring in Godzilla and I don't change his design, or El Gran Maha and I don't really change his design. There's a lot of characters that I don't own that I use the designs of verbatim, but the main reason I wanted to change up Julia Beast's design was people already know that I don't own Godzilla or El Gran Maha or any of these other characters. They know I'm not the one that produced this design, and they understand where the design source comes from, okay? Scourge of Fleets is a relatively unknown card to those who know about Julia Beast's design, so I really did not want to use it verbatim. Not to mention, I tend to take liberties with the designs that I use from other people anyway. I mean, Cedar's got hooves, El Gran Maha's tiny hands, and his ability to push his teeth out. Anyone? And not to mention, their ability to talk. None of these monsters actually talk. I take creative liberties with everything I do. So I did a second live stream where I altered the design a bit, closing up her bottom jaw and adding random teeth all over her body. Also, this image only shows her face, so I had to ad-lib the rest of her body, giving her some arm flippers with claws, since I love making characters emote with their hand gestures, or in this case, flipper gestures, and a huge tail with another hand-looking clawed paddle thing. I know the painting itself has more of an octopus with a giant crab face looking design, but tentacles suck to animate. Plus, Julia Beast isn't exactly known for being an octopus, just being a giant fish with a huge shadow or whatever. Too many giant monster types from the ocean are assumed to be tentacled monster octopus squid things, and that is just boring. Also, I gave her a giant molar in the middle of her upper jaw because, well, no, there's no reason for it actually. Aside from it looking funny anyway. I like adding weird details to the designs at random. You know, like Megalodons changing gum colors. But that's a design for another time. As I mentioned in the live stream, I used this image for inspiration too, for her head tentacles. That comes from this image, Bermuda's Triangle Solved by Dave's Right Mind over on DeviantArt. The next design was done recently, in the past couple of months, and it's this thing, Upsweep, introduced in the Axolotl episode that a lot of viewers ignored. Upsweep was added to the end of that script as a joke about how oftentimes I'll introduce a character for a simple joke and then never use them again in the series. You know, I'm sweeping the character under the rug after their one appearance, so why not have a sound monster with the name Upsweep do the sweeping? That's what I mean by opportunity. If it wasn't for the phrase swept under the rug, I wouldn't have had anything to base Upsweep's personality or personal lore on. I mean, look at this Wikipedia page. It's literally just a sound description and then saying, it's underwater volcanic activity, and that's it. I can't glean anything off of that limited of a description. I don't know where you guys pull these monster descriptions from yourselves, but I only use readily available sources. So for this to work, it has to have some kind of joke attached. So, Upsweep is basically an oceanic janitor with giant paddle flippers who sweeps up one-dimensional characters out of existence after I stop using them, at least in the non-canon universe. The other personality quirk of his being his insistence on becoming canon, despite that not mattering in the slightest in the series. I mean, he's non-canon, but he's been in like 3 or 4 different cartoons already by this point. Hell, Sea Eater's been in 40 plus minutes of animation on this channel already, and he was never canon! Clearly it doesn't matter! Anyway, Upsweep's design is based on this image. Another DeviantArt picture. This one being of the bloop? Okay, so backtracking. When I did my Google image search for Upsweep, this is the only monster I came across. Upsweep isn't a very popular monster type. It's just a mysterious repeated noise that started in 1991. Like, that is it. That's the description. No giant monster lore, just clickbait nonsense. But this video uses this image, and I like how goofy the design looks. Like, 2 eyebrow flaps? What? Doing a little more digging, the artwork in Mind is called Goes Bloop by David's Right Mind over on DeviantArt. Apparently this is Dave's version of the monster that makes the bloop noise. So what does the YouTube channel Concerning Reality do? Mistake it for a different mysterious ocean sound and slap it on the thumbnail. I mean, who cares, right? Apparently nobody. Anyway, every other result was just a random 3D model of bloop or more tentacle nonsense, so I went with the goofier design since the ocean janitor needed a sillier aesthetic visually. The fact that I make his head flop around when he talks is mostly because I can't tell where the hell his mouth is supposed to be. Are these gills? Maybe like baleen whale teeth? With only this image to go off of, it's hard to say. But I decided I wanted to go real abstract with it and make his head flip around randomly while talking. And he has a dopey voice because, I mean, of course he does. I kept picturing how an upswept voice would sound like, and random pitches upwards is what came out of it. That and the, whoop catchphrase. Again, just trying to personify the name itself with a vocal performance. So fast forward a couple of months, and we're bringing Julia Beast back, right? I have the script finished. It was simply Julia Beast talking to all the giants that Bloop has met, and she lightly scolds Bloop for being small, and then tells him to find her in the canon storyline before leaving. You know, real cut and dry. That was the entire script. I knew there would be comments begging for Upsweep to join Bloop and Julia since they're all part of the same sound gang, but I didn't really have an idea in mind that wouldn't just become a completely different cartoon. That's when I realized, why don't I just bring in the other 3 entries on that Wikipedia article list, and then just have them do like a stupid group photo or something. Like, that's it. Like, that's the entire thing. Just Upsweep complaining about not being in the cartoon, and then the other 3 show up, and then they all just do a little group picture, and then that's it. Not to mention, it's not like C, Train, Whistle, and Slowdown even have legit backstories or personalities themselves. They could literally just be background one-dimensional characters and just be there for the sake of a joke. Plus, it'd be kind of heartwarming to actually give Upsweep what he wants for a change. I'm trying to be nicer to the characters as I go on in this series, you know. So now let's cover their designs! Starting with Slowdown, I initially wanted to make the character like a frog since the voice I had in mind for the creature was kind of a croak that would make one think of a frog's ribbit. Most of the images that I found were just images copied from the other monster designs, Bloop and Cthulhu especially. I kind of used this image as a base, but then incorporated frog elements into it to keep it interesting. So, kind of a frog-octopus thing. Also, he has suction cup teeth lining the inside of his mouth. Does that make a lick of sense? Hell no! I'm not explaining away an artistic choice, alright? It's not supposed to be bio-accurate, it's just, you know, bio-silly, I guess. I just like the idea of suction cup teeth, and I need at least one nonsense design per character for myself to be happy. You know, kind of like the hoof on Sea Eater's tail. The hooves on his legs make sense, yes, but this thing serves no damn purpose. I live for that sort of thing. And yeah, you know, tripod joke, whatever. Anyway. Oh, and I guess there's a human nose above Slowdown's eyes also. No particular reason for there to be. I just kind of felt like it needed to be there. Next, I had to draw Sea Train. It's a fucking train. Like, what do you want from me, award-winning creativity? I wrote this part on Tuesday, alright? This whole extra part was written on Tuesday, and I had to release it by Friday. So I'm designing like 3 characters in the span of a day and a half, alright? And none of the thumbnails I found helped. Like, what the hell is this supposed to be? A train-shaped spaghetti strainer? Somebody lazily drew over a train picture with a Sharpie or something? I really didn't like that direction, so I said screw it and went with just taking a train-like creature and dialing up the absurdity for the design. So basically, he's kind of like a huge sea caterpillar kind of thing. And he found like a huge Thomas the Tank Engine shell to live in, and uses that to chugga around on the ocean floor. He's a cosplaying monster. What's not to love about that? With a name like Sea Train, there's absolutely nothing else we need to elaborate on for him. Other than that his eyes are huge and bizarre for a sea caterpillar. Or whatever this thing is supposed to be. A bearded fireworm? the St. Lucia thing? Just put a train on it and call it a day. Leaving us with the last one I drew. Whistle, which is a whistle. A yellow whistle. Again, nothing in the image search even remotely resembled a whistle, but this image kind of had the right aesthetic going for it. I was personally envisioning a kind of snippy bird type thing. You know, because it whistles. So, just add elements of a literal whistle and make its head like that, and give it random threads. Kind of like a big seahorse with tassels, I guess. Again, this was designed on Thursday and I had to get this cartoon done. And fun fact, the most annoying character for me to personally voice in this episode was Whistle. Mostly because I just can't really whistle. I'm not actually capable of whistling. Whenever I whistle, I have to breathe inward to whistle myself. I've never figured out that finger thing. You're supposed to finger your mouth to make whistled noises. I can't. That's me blowing out to whistle. That's the best I can do. It took me like 3 minutes of me doing that just to get the whistles I needed for the cartoon, and I was very lightheaded afterwards. Fun! And yeah, I know I could have just done like a sound effect or something, but like, you know, you can't put emotion behind a sound effect you download on the internet, okay? It's gotta be a vocal performance. He's a character, not an object, even though he's got the name of an object, okay? Just like, whatever. So that rounds up the designs of all the major sound monsters on the page. Honorable mention to the Bioduck, which is also on the page, but that sound has actually been figured out. Basically, people were hearing quacking sounds on the ocean near the Antarctic, right? Turns out, minke whales were making that noise. Nobody's really sure why. They assume it's a mating thing, but who knows? It's not like we can ask them. I gave him a duck bill to make the reference to the Bioduck story more obvious. Not that any of you even noticed anyway, except like one person. But that's the niche I find myself in these days. I am not touching the stupid sound page ever again. No Moodus Noise Monster, or The Hum, or Mist Poofers. The Ping? These names are so stupid and basic. These are just the results of ice moving around, or the planet having internal chemical reactions. Heaven forbid a sound not have a monster attached. Also note, every sound on this page is sped up 16 times at least, meaning nothing mentioned here makes the noise that its name describes. This is basically humans taking a picture of a cloudy day and being like, that cloud looks like a pizza, and then idiots finding that description on the internet 15 years later and saying, there's a pizza monster in the skies, I'm scared! Seek help! Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed all that fun insight on my design process. I try to inject as much fun as I can into this series, but sometimes there just isn't enough time to do that. I do my best though! And you know, if you're the artistic type and you enjoy doodling monsters and stuff, dog, there's a Discord. There's a section in the Discord that's like, hey, we all like drawing silly little monsters and fan art and asking repetitive bloop diet questions or just whatever. I don't know, if you're 13 and up, feel free to join there and bug each other. It's all good. It's a place for fans. It's a place for you guys. You guys don't have to bombard my comments section with these conversations. You can do it on the Discord. It makes more sense on the Discord, but obviously you have to be of age. It's just kind of one of those things. I've got a younger audience that apparently doesn't understand this. I just stop begging for things in the comments. It's annoying as piss for me to read and only pisses me off. Thank you! Bye!
Bauer, you should add the 52 hertz whale. It's a whale who has deformity that makes it hard to hear from any other whale. Cool. I don't know what that means, but neat. I mean,